The distress beacon had been silent for 47 hours when the rescue vessel arrived at Kepler 442b. Commander Vexari of the Galactic Survey Corps felt his 3 hearts sink as the scanner readings populated his display. Of the 214 life forms that had landed on the planet's surface 6 days ago, only 23 signatures remained. Impossible, his navigation officer whispered, her mandibles clicking nervously. The preliminary scans showed Class 2 hazards at most. How could we lose 90% of an expedition in less than a week? Vexari studied the data, his scaled hands trembling slightly. The 23 survivors were clustered together, actually moving across the hostile terrain toward the designated extraction point. Against all logic, they were still following protocol. Enhance biosignatures, he commanded. The officer complied and Vexari's blood ran cold. All 23 surviving signatures were human. Of course they were. 6 days earlier, Lisa Martinez had stood at the edge of the landing ramp, breathing in the air of Kepler 442b for the first time. The oxygen content was perfect, 21% exactly, and the temperature hovered at a comfortable 18 degrees Celsius. Paradise, according to every instrument they possessed. Something feels wrong, she'd said to Max Chen, her co-expedition leader. Max had nodded, his dark eyes scanning the purple-tinged forest ahead. Too quiet. No insects, no bird calls, nothing. They were the only humans in an expedition of 214 scientists, representing 47 different species from across the Galactic Survey Corps. The others, Velkari, Thunde, Sifos, and dozens more, had dismissed their concerns with the polite condescension the galaxy's older races always showed to humanity. Your pattern recognition instincts are admirable but misplaced, Chief Xenobiologist Thuron had said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. This planet is statistically safer than your own Earth. Lisa had wanted to point out that Earth was classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, one of the most hostile environments in known space, but she'd held her tongue. Humans had only joined the galactic community 30 years ago. They were still proving themselves. The expedition had pushed into the forest by mid-afternoon. That's when the planet showed its teeth. The plants moved first. Not swaying in the wind. There was no wind. They moved, their crystalline leaves reorienting toward the expedition members with predatory precision. Max had barely gotten the warning out before the first Velkari scientists stumbled into a patch of what they'd classified as harmless ground cover. The screaming lasted for 45 seconds, acidic secretions, Lisa had shouted, pulling survivors back as the vegetation began to pulse and shift. The roots, they're carnivorous. But the plants were just the beginning. The atmosphere shifted without warning. The comfortable 21% oxygen plummeted to 14% in minutes, then spiked to 34%. Most species could tolerate neither extreme. The Thunde began gasping first, their dual lung system failing. The Xiphos collapsed shortly after, their methane-adapted biology unable to process the violent atmospheric fluctuations. Max and Lisa felt lightheaded during the lows and hyper-alert during the highs. But they could function, barely. Earth's own atmospheric inconsistencies, altitude changes, pollution, their planet's violent weather patterns had prepared humanity's biology for chaos. Rebreathers, Lisa commanded, tossing the emergency equipment to the alien crew members. But most species hadn't thought to bring them. Why would they? The initial scans had been perfect. Humans, raised on a world where the environment actively tried to kill them, carried backup equipment by instinct. The temperature swings came next, from 18 degrees to 5 within an hour, then spiking to 42 by nightfall. The Velkari, evolved on a climate-stable world, went into shock. Their cold-blooded metabolisms couldn't adjust fast enough. Max watched helplessly as their numbers dwindled. "We need to reach the extraction point," he said, his voice hoarse. "It's 40 kilometers north. We can make it." 40 kilometers through this? One of the surviving Xiphos wheezed. "Impossible." "For you, maybe," Lisa muttered, already calculating the route. They moved at night when the temperatures were more stable, Max and Lisa taking turns carrying the injured on their backs. The other species looked at them in disbelief. Humans, the newcomers, the primitives from the Deathworld were carrying them. "How are you still moving?" A young Velkari scientist named Kesva asked Lisa as she hauled him across a ravine. His 3 legs had been broken in a fall. Your muscles should be exhausted. Your species has no cybernetic enhancements, no genetic optimization. We run marathons for fun, Lisa grunted, adjusting his weight. 50 kilometers before breakfast on some worlds. Earth doesn't give you a choice. You adapt or you die. On the third day, the predators found them. They came from the canopy, six-legged horrors with crystalline carapaces and mouths full of serrated bone. The expedition's weapons were designed for specimen collection, not combat. Most species had evolved past violence. They had no instinct for it. Humans had not. Max moved without thinking, grabbing a broken branch and driving it through the first creature's thorax. Lisa swept another's legs, bringing it down where she could stomp on its neural cluster. The other survivors watched in horror as the two humans fought with brutal efficiency, turning rocks and sticks into weapons. Using the terrain itself as an ally, predator-prey dynamics, Max explained later, wiping purple ichor from his makeshift spear. Earth has apex predators that hunt in packs. We learned to hunt them back. It's in our DNA. By day 5, only 31 remained. By day 6, 23. All human. Commander Vexari watched through the rescue ship's view screen as the survivors emerged from the forest. 2 humans in front. The expedition leaders, according to the manifest. 21 more behind them, supporting, carrying, protecting the mission data they'd risked everything to preserve. Not a single human had been lost. Prepare medical bay for all species, Vexari ordered, and add a note to the expedition report, sir. Kepler 442b is to be reclassified as a Class 11 Deathworld, and any future expeditions to hostile environments are to include a minimum 30% human crew complement. His officer's mandibles clicked in confusion. Sir, humans are the newest species in the Corps. Surely more experienced. Experience doesn't matter on a Deathworld, Vexari interrupted, watching as Lisa Martinez helped the last injured Xiphos up the rescue ship's ramp. Her face was covered in cuts, her clothes torn, her body clearly running on fumes. But she was still moving, still helping, still alive. Humans are from a Deathworld, he continued quietly. They don't just survive the impossible, they're built for it. As the ship broke orbit, Max Chen stood in the cargo bay looking back at the purple hell that had claimed so many lives. Lisa joined him, her hand finding his shoulder. Think they'll listen next time? She asked. Max smiled grimly. Probably not. But they'll learn. Below them, Kepler 442b rotated peacefully, beautiful and deadly, keeping its secrets. Humanity had faced it and survived, because that's what humans did.